This is the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. Here's your host, Corey Tusick.
This is the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tusick. On today's episode, I interviewed Daniel Prince, host of the OnceBITten podcast. Prince is the first person that I had on the show, if you remember when I started. And I thought it would just be a good idea to have a mid-year review, a review of where we are and where Bitcoin is and how we, how I've been doing with the podcast and everything like that. So it was just good to catch up with him because I don't think ever since we were on each other's shows, we had chatted other than, just texting and all that kind of stuff. So it was good to catch up with Princey. And then we, in addition to a mid-year review, we also, discussed what it was like leaving your Fiat jobs and, leaving your Fiat life behind you. And his book, Choose Life, really gets into that. So we talked a little bit about that and what our experiences were like leaving our jobs whenever we got out of what we didn't want to be doing. And then we chatted about the cartoon project I'm working on called the Citadel. And Lauren joined the show, to ask some questions, but then we also talked about the potential of her and her dad, lending their voices to this cartoon show. So if you want to reach out to me, the show Twitter handle is @BitcoinSimply, and my personal one is @TusickCorey, and the show email is bitcoinmadesimplepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks.
Absolutely.
But I gotta.
Do you want me to do a backup recording in GarageBand in case Zoom screws up?
Yeah, if you don't mind. I haven't had that happen yet, but if you don't mind.
Yeah. It happened to me the other day. I had a lady on, and once I went to release the audio, she somehow turned out to be a Dalek. It sounded fine when we were recording, but then when it came to actually trying to continue, okay.
Yeah, this microphone's not bad. I can't tell. My voice is never on par, I don't think, with the guests. If a guest is just using headphones or whatever, then obviously it's better. The people with like microphones and stuff like that. I'm like, what's the one the Shure microphone?
I don't know, man.
SHURE or something like that. I think it's what Rogan uses. And I think they're a little expensive, but you might do it just because. And I feel like the old radio DJ here with the arm, like
exactly.
It's like old school.
All right, hang on. So I've got GarageBand going. I'm gonna hit. Hang on a second. I get these problems all the time. The throat clears. I wonder if standing up fixes that. I've never tried it.
You have that. That's the Peter McCormick style.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to hit record, and then you've got a backup MP3 on my side. So, all good to go, brother. All good to go.
So is Lauren around? Does she have any questions? I got to ask that, or is she?
I can go and grab her. We were just finishing up dinner, so I can go find out what she's up to. Do you want me to go grab her?
Yeah, if she's up for it, just let her know it's the streaming service guy, the movie guy, because I don't know if she wouldn't even know what questions to ask me. But
yeah, well, one sec. All right, we're good. We're good to go.
You want to
do an intro?
Podcaster.
Hi.
Now we have the most famous podcaster, Lauren, is joining us. Which is no offense, I wanted to talk to your dad, but really, everybody knows who runs the show on the OnceBITten podcast. So I had to get your. So how's your summer been? You guys just went on holiday, or as we call it, vacation?
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago, like a month ago now. But otherwise, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. How do you like being in the Bitcoin world?
I think it's cool.
Well, you won some sats the other day, didn't you?
I actually did.
Yeah,
Oh, what?
all the kids won some sats. So how did you do that?
We did that because there was a drawing competition going around. And so after all that happened, like it was the end, and somehow me and Sophia, because we did the drawing together, and Samuel won because no one else did their drawings. So if anyone else did their drawings, I bet it would have been us. Because
Shall I set the scene here and give the story? We had MTC BTC on the show. He's the creator of @Sats Ledger, SATS Sats Ledger, and that's a little kind of like little bank book for kids to play around with stickers and such like.
Oh, cool.
Track their satoshis that they can earn by doing jobs and around the house. Like classic,
Chores
kid
and
style.
all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And you can get paid in sats, and then they log it in their books, and it's a really cool little thing to grab hold of for your kids. And he was on the show, and at the end of the show, he said, right, I'm going to throw out a challenge. There's 50,000 sats to the child that draws the best picture of Satoshi, which you will obviously love, the theme of your film. And so I told the kids, you got to get on this. And my son Samuel is like, no, I'm never going to win. I can't draw. And I'm like, mate, you've got to be in it to win it. Like you have to submit something.
You got to try, You
got to submit something. So he submitted one. And then Lauren and Sophia brainstormed. Lauren had the ideas and Sophia had the drawing technical ability. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, the only two pictures that were put forward were from La Famille Prince. And they were very MTC and his wife were the judges, and they gave away 50,000 sats to each drawing.
But
nice. What was funny about Lauren and Sophia's drawing?
We did female version.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Kind of anime-esque, and I looked at it. I'm like, this is really cool, guys. This is brilliant. Who came up with the idea of one blue eye and one orange eye?
Okay, so like we were thinking like one white eye and one orange eye for like the theme of Bitcoin. But then she said like something else than white. I was like, okay, what about like brown or like a grayish kind of brownish? And then she was like, no, we need something else. I was like, what about blue? She was like, oh, good idea.
So I said, well, that it's brilliant. You got the blue pill and the orange pill. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Really? I did not think about that. I didn't think about that.
It's the subliminal teaching that your dad's been doing. He's just been dropping it in, like as you guys sleep, he just comes in the room and just whispers in your ear, orange pill, orange pill.
Hammering down the nail until our brains.
That and do the dishes.
Yeah. Oh, Daddy, we did the dishwasher this morning.
I know. Yes. Yeah. They unprompted. They unloaded the dishwasher. I mean, it's amazing. It's only taken 10 years. We're getting there. We're almost out of the woods.
Wait, Daddy.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
So 50,000 sats. So that's what, probably $20.
Yeah.
20 something. That's a pretty good haul for a drawing.
Yeah, but absolutely. I need my rent.
You need your rent.
Yeah, because I do the podcast and everything.
That's not rent. That's wages.
Not rent, but like wages. Yeah, I need the money.
She pays rent.
She's a rent seeker.
Rent.
Yeah, listeners. Look what's going on here. Be careful.
You pay rent to her. You and your wife pay rent to her.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me the money.
Yeah, no, you need some in your wallet, Satoshi. I need to ping you some sats for the help on the show. All of the behind the scenes stuff you don't do.
Even though you do everything, I still need this for my teenage years.
Well, Lauren, I have a question for you. So there's this TV show that I'm in the process of developing. I don't know do you remember I do like movies and all that kind of stuff, and we have a streaming platform. The apps will be out sometime this month, and it's called Movies Plus, and so that's my plug for Movies Plus, moviesplus.com. Go to Movies Plus. But I want to make a show that's specifically for Bitcoin, and it's going to be like a cartoon, more like adult humor. Like, have you ever watched like Family Guy or Simpsons?
Yeah. Yeah, we love The
Okay.
Simpsons and Family Guy.
Rick and Morty.
Oh, I love
Oh yeah,
that.
and Rick and Morty. Yeah, I just started Rick and Morty because my friend that is developing another show with me, he recommended I watch it. He said he was like, dude, you got to watch it for comedy writing. It's great.
You have
Um,
to watch it.
but the show is called The Citadel, and it's going to be a citadel. Have you heard the Citadel talk in Bitcoin?
No.
What do you think a citadel is? It's like a castle, really. It's like a walled city. I mean, we have citadels all around where we
Yeah,
live.
okay.
What's a town like? Even Salah would have been a citadel
Yeah,
at one stage because that it has big town walls.
And also, like, it's very medieval, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so people lived in citadels to protect themselves, and
now that's what Bitcoiners want to do. Is the Bitcoiners want to just go away and build their citadel so that nobody can come in and bother them. And so I had this idea of making an adult themed humor cartoon show called The Citadel, where all the Bitcoiners live in the Citadel because Bitcoin became a standard unit of account, and they don't have anything to fight for anymore, and now they're just protecting their wealth. And so there's all these characters that I have that are real people, and I'm like, I'm going to talk to everybody and be like, hey, I got to get everybody in this, but you and your dad have to be in the show. And I was thinking, like, well, you're Daniel's always talking about, your dad's always talking about education, everything like that. Maybe it could be like the school that, like, he's like the headmaster of the school in the Citadel. And then I started thinking, well, Lauren's kind of like, she'd be a student, but she's also like the Bitcoin celebrity. So like you could be like everywhere you show up, like have like sunglasses on and like, flashing peace signs with like the paparazzi.
Yeah!
The paparazzi snapping pictures and
Yeah.
so yeah, I would I'm it's still in the early stages, so I have to preface this because whenever I tell my son that we're working on a show, he thinks it's going to come out like next week.
Right.
And I'm like, it's like 9 months to a year. But yeah, if you guys would be interested, that would be a potential thing where we could have you record voices for your character.
Yes,
That'd be very cool.
definitely.
And we could do it just over the microphone, it'd be
Yeah.
easy enough.
No,
I totally
we'd
want
love
to
to
do
do
that.
it.
Yes.
You could be like Lisa Simpson. Would I be Mr. Mackey or would I be Principal Skinner?
Like, I'm not
Okay.
Lisa because I am not smart.
You are smart.
I'm smart, but not as smart as her.
One of my favorite Simpson episodes.
And I do
ever.
have friends, so.
Right.
Do you? This is an old one, so you probably don't remember. But whenever Lisa was I think she was a witness in a crime, and the judge goes, he's like, to protect the witness's name, we won't say her name, so we'll just call her L. Simpson. And he's like, wait a minute, that's too obvious. We'll call her Lisa S. Like, it's just brilliant. They're brilliant. So yeah, we have all kinds of stuff we want to do, like Peter McCormack. I want to have him be running an Aston Martin dealership, where he is trying to sell all the Aston Martins that he's bought.
That'd be great.
Then
He'd love that too.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, we had Breedlove fall down, but it fits right in. I was going to have the Church of Robert Breedlove and Latter-day Saints, and he'd be like a Jesus figure, and then it worked out perfectly that he'll accept donations in BitClout. So like instead of passing around a collection plate, he'll just say, send it to my BitClout address. Who are the other characters? Guy Swan. Everything's read by Guy Swan.
The town crier.
Yeah, everyone in this
Would have
whole
to
town
be.
has forgotten how to read. So like all signs have a button under them, and you press it, and it's Guy Swan reading the sign to you.
Or just standing out in the square at 12 o'clock every day, like reading out a Bitcoin article, like, hear ye, hear ye, with the bell. I'm Guy Swan, Bitcoin notable, yo.
And then Preston Pish would be head of Citadel Defense. And then you'd have Canute Van Holm and Plan B out on the open seas. They're the pirates patrolling the seas in front of the Citadel.
Canute would be
He'll
so
be a
interested.
great pirate.
He would want to help you write this. He's been trying to get the South Park guys to write a Bitcoin episode. He'd be
Wait, South Park?
yeah.
Like the people who wrote
Yeah.
South Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
They
actually.
just-
I was just like in my research watch the 6 days to air. Where have you ever seen that documentary? How South Park they make the show within 6 days. And so that's kind of what I want to get to eventually. Obviously, for the pilot, you have to just kind of like grease the wheels and get everything going. But just because things happen so quickly that, like the Robert Breedlove thing, I was like, oh my God, that would be the next episode where the whole episode is about him accepting BitClout as donations. And, you just, and like I did this on a Twitter Spaces when we were talking about it, saying like things happen so quickly in Bitcoin that like you're going to have to, get a rhythm going. So hopefully
6 hours to air.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 hours, not 6 days.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean the script almost writes itself. Like
it really
if you're
does.
keeping it topical.
It really does.
No, it's brilliant.
And then I think
mate.
I think it'll be fun because all the podcasters, everybody that's like got a personality, can all get involved in it, and do their voices, but also they get in on the business side of it. That's the thing, Lauren, is that you would have to, we'd actually have to have a contract with you if you wanted to do the voice. Your parents would have to approve of it, with child performers and everything like that. But like you could start saving money.
Yes!
Oh my goodness!
I'll be richer than my sisters.
That'd be an interesting study in like 10 to 15 years time. The contrast difference between a Fiat child celebrity to a Bitcoin child celebrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Soon the paparazzi is just gonna come.
To your little town in France, they'll just come blowing.
Yeah.
They'll just come blowing you up. So yeah, that's I hope that we can do that soon. I'm gonna try to do a 2-minute like test, and then also do a poster of the Citadel. But the trick is
animate, or have you got to find all of that?
I got to find one. I'm probably gonna post on like those like Bitcoin jobs or whatever. I got to find a forum.
Jobs, yeah.
Because I don't have, I have like 700-800 followers. I don't have enough followers to like crowdsource and get an anime, but it's not going to be a lucrative paying gig to start. It's just going to be, let's try to, feel it out, throw something together. But yeah, I have this vision in my head, and it's hard as when you're in the creative industry. I have like I have this huge list of projects that I want to make. And they're all kind of in the beginning phases. And so I'm trying to shepherd them to the point where then I can just like let other people really run the show. And I just watch from a distance, come into the writer's room, shoot some jokes out, and then leave. And like, we're even trying to make a movie or a TV show. We're just writing the pilot. It's going to be similar to The Office, but the obtuse boss that doesn't really have self-awareness is going to be a movie producer. And he'll be like completely insensitive to the times, but like not maliciously, just because so many people say they're like, because if you're not woke, you get canceled or whatever, and they say, oh, The Office could never be done nowadays because it was so rude. And I'm like, nah, let's do it. Let's be rude.
For it, man. People are dying for that comedy back, that humor back in their lives.
Yeah. Like, we could do. I don't even spoil the jokes because there's some good ones. It's absurd. So I hope we get to green light that. It's the trick now. I'm like in charge of everything, and I can cancel stuff, but I also need to convince the rest of the owners. So like they believe me. They're like, yeah, let's do this. But they're not just going to say like, hey, we'll just give you money for anything. It'd be like, you have to really flush it out and have a good project to go for it. So I don't know. Hopefully I'm thinking Bitcoiners will like our platform. I hope so.
I'm sure.
Shoot
it again.
Yeah, Movies Plus. The website is mymoviesplus.com. And if you're listening to this after the month of July 2021, go into your favorite app store and find Movies Plus. Yeah, just type Movies Plus and trying to get some Bitcoin docs on there and some other Bitcoin material because I'll edit this part out. So uncut. So yeah, that's what's going on. Do you have any other questions, Lauren? Anything? I'm not a Bitcoin expert, but I could. You have any questions
I got
about
an idea.
Oh, let's bring it. I like
so
this.
we should have a full season of an animation of all the Bitcoiners, in The Simpsons. We should they're animated and everything. Why not we should do that with all the people who are voice acting?
I'm not sure where you're going with this.
We make our own episodes and basically an anime.
An anime?
An anime.
Yeah, basically that, a whole anime of us.
So what we get drawn in the style of anime, is that
not the style of anime, but basically just get drawn animated.
Mm-hmm.
And we do a whole entire season of that. That would be epic.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Corey's talking about.
that's what the show is. We'll have to make a cartoon version of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there needs to be more seasons. If we need to add seasons.
Well, only if it's successful and people watch it. Otherwise, it just drops into nothing.
I would think we'd probably start with a 10 episode season, and hopefully, I think people are gonna like it.
Yeah.
And Bitcoiners are gonna rally around it, and the budget's not big, so it's not like we have to recoup a bunch of money and everything like that. We have to it has to do well, but it's not going to be challenging. It's not going to be those big shows that are on the TV networks where they have to go, millions of people have to be watching by the third episode or you're done, So if we can do 10 episodes, it gets well received and boom, we'll go right back to it and just start writing. Ideally, just have the writers sitting there ready to go and be like, hey, here's the new idea, write the episode. Maybe take 10 days to write the episode, then get the script out to all the podcasters and everybody that needs to be on, and they can start doing it. The idea too is that there's this guy that gets orange pilled. He hears this party going on in the Citadel from his house, and he's coming home from his humdrum job where he's just hates his life, everything. And he hears the Pump It Up song, you've got to pump it up. Oh, pump it up.
Pump it up. You gotta pump it up.
And so he hears it coming from behind the walls of the Citadel. And he opens the door and he gets enamored with everything. They give him the orange pill and he takes it, and then he becomes a Bitcoiner. And he goes home immediately, moves his entire family out, puts the house up for sale, moves into the Citadel, buys a house, and then as he's going into his house for the night, he trips and falls and hits the ground, and the orange pill comes out. So now he's a non-orange pilled person that has committed his life to the Citadel, and he's surrounded by all these orange pilled Bitcoiners. So it's just kind of a good way for us to play, poke fun at it, where it'll be all the Bitcoiners poking fun at ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Laughing
forever selling out at any stage.
Yeah. So it'll be. I just divulged the whole premise of the show.
Script.
So now it has to come out, and I might as well. It's probably gonna get listed on IMDb now. So
can you have a bunch of guys living together in an apartment, a mix of men and women, and call them friends? FRENS.
yeah, that would be great.
Wait, how did you spell it?
Friends. That's how we call each other friends on Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin friends. FRENS.
That's just so confusing.
Yeah, there could be a bunch of Zoomers that all the Zoomer friends that
What's
that are
the
just
W
in
one?
like their own little apartment.
FREWNS. Does that mean like friends that don't really
I don't
understand?
know.
I've seen that one before. You have to answer this for me. Somebody tag this in Canute. Somebody asked this question of Canute when I interviewed him, like asked me to ask. I have no idea. What's that one about the swallow? The question. I have no idea what it means. I'm not even like up on the joke.
Yes. So
let me read it
to
here.
set
What
it
is
up,
it? It says
right. Yeah, you asked today on Twitter. Are there any questions that you should ask? That you'd like to ask?
yeah. Oh, it was you. Yeah, it
yeah.
was you.
Yes.
Well,
And
yeah. So the question
Go
is,
ahead.
what is the average speed of an unladen swallow? And what in the world does that mean? Because I was like, that's the second time that's turned up in a questions. I'm like,
and the first time was with Canute, and
Yep.
I may have even asked that question of Canute, or I think I might have followed up with the next question of would that be an African or a European swallow? So this is in reference to Monty Python, the
okay.
you're right,
I feel like
the
such an
Holy
idiot.
Grail.
Yeah,
It's the Holy Grail film, and it's when they're trying to cross the bridge, and the old guy's there. He's like, none of you shall pass unless you answer me these questions 3 or something like that. And so they ask stupid questions, and the final question is that question.
Yeah.
And they question him with the question, would that be African or European swallow? And he's like, well, I don't know that. And he gets flipped off into the ravine so they can cross the bridge. It's classic Python.
I'm sitting there trying to decipher it as if it's some big Bitcoin thing that like I'm not getting. And I mean, last time I saw the Holy Grail was probably when I was like 12 or 13.
Needs a revisit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while.
It's a Bitcoin film. There's a Citadel in there.
That's true. That's right. I didn't think about that. So yeah.
Your father was a hamster and your mother smelled of elderberries and you're not coming in.
I fart in your general direction.
Exactly. You got it. You got it.
That's my
And
British
it was set in
accent.
France.
My British accent. My wife always teases me whenever I try to do a British accent. I just talk slower and dumber. I just like, oh, okay, that's what I'm doing because I got a British accent. And she's like, that's not how people from England sound. Like, it's not at all.
So you've got to do one of the voiceovers for one of the English actors in the Citadel with your really bad English accent.
Yeah, and then we could make it like the animation of that character could be like this horrifically drawn like stick figure that's like all messed up and like, hello, I'm from England,
You got it.
Before anyone gets anywhere else, I'm gonna leave and maybe eat a brownie. So
okay, all right. Yeah, you're gonna go for some dessert. All right.
Yeah.
You guys still dancing to music out there?
No, I don't know.
No? All
Maybe
right.
the cockles are, but not me.
Okay. See ya.
Oh man. Oh, that's good. That's she asks the best questions, and she brings up the best conversation.
It's always out of left field, mate. You never know. You got to be ready to zig and zag.
You ever hold your breath like what's gonna be coming out now?
All the time. There's zero prep before we jump on a call together, and she teases me for it. But I say to her, right, Lauren, we got a podcast in 10 minutes. She's like, what? Why didn't you tell me this morning? I'm like, because there's no point in telling you this morning. You would have forgotten about it. You have no concept of time. Like you literally, when was the last time you looked at the time? What's the time right now? I don't know. So then what's the point of me telling you? I'm telling you 10 minutes before. Let's go in. It's raw. That's part of the, appeal to people that we have no idea what's going to come out of the... Like we were interviewing Nick Bhatia the other night, and she said, so what is it this guy does? I'm like, he wrote this book. Ask him about the book. So, okay. So off we go. But then as soon as that one question's done and the guest has answered, man,
it's just game over. Anything could come out.
Yeah, it's, throw a dart. You've no idea. blindfold yourself, chug 3 pints, spin around, and throw a dart and see what question lands.
Speaking of chugging 3 pints, so I know we talked about early on. I was like, oh, we got to do Bitcoin and beers, but it's just so hard with our time frame, with our, being 5 hours ahead.
Well, I'm on the wine, so what's your excuse?
Yeah, I don't have an excuse other than that my kids have a play date in a couple hours, so I don't want to show up to the play date like,
Although that Bitcoin guy, look at that, look at he's back.
Although it is the play date, the parents, the dads told me some stories where I know he'd be like, okay, it's cool, I gets it. But yeah, so the one night I finally did Bitcoin and beers on the Twitter Spaces. And I just started it probably randomly around like 11:45. I just figured like, let me see if anybody will join. I was sitting on my back porch, like just drinking a beer, enjoying the summer weather. And then Guy Swan joined because I, texted him like a couple times, said, hey, we should do this. I was like, if there's ever a time I can get you and Princey at the same time and we can all drink beer, that'd be great. And Guy jumps in. And then, I don't know, we probably had like 50, 60 people in there. And it went to like 2:30 in the morning. And I drank way more beer than I expected to, because I just thought I was going to be up for like 30, 40 minutes. And you know how it is with young kids. Like, no matter when you go to bed, you have to wake up at whatever time they wake up. And so I knew I was going to be paying for it. But I knew I was up late whenever I like hopped on Twitter before I fell asleep. And I'm looking at my phone like, and I see a new tweet like 1 minute old from you, and I was like, oh crap! I was like, if I'm going to bed and Princey's up for the next day, I was like, this is not going to be a fun day tomorrow.
I do the same when I see the Aussie tweets. I'm like, oh yeah, shit! The Aussie guys are tweeting. I'll see Wizard of Oz or Uncle Bill or Stefan. Although, like, he's not in Australia at the moment, I don't think. But when I see those, I'm like, shit, I gotta go to bed. This is not my time zone. I gotta move on. Like, I gotta shut down.
Today has ended. I need to start anew tomorrow. That one was getting a little crazy, and so hopefully we can figure it out at some point, and maybe we'll just do it so late that you can join in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I can do it with coffee or something. Or it depends. Maybe you're East Coast, right? So I think I'm 6 hours ahead of you. So right now it's probably 3:30 in the afternoon. You got no excuse at 3:30 in the afternoon.
It's true. I mean, that's very European of you.
Yeah,
that's very European of you. My joke always, every time we're at the Cannes Film Festival, and we see all the shops like literally just closed down, like they're done. They serve lunch and it's over. And I always joked, I mean, I really think they have like the right view on life to not work too much. But my joke was always like, oh, you wonder why America is so far ahead? It's like, because they hit lunch and they're just like, that's enough. I'm done for the day. And my wife sent me this meme of like, it was like a European out of office. And it said like, oh, I'm going camping for the weekend, so I should be back sometime in September. And the American one says like, I'm having some kind of surgery. I should be unavailable for a few hours, but if you need to call me, here's my cell.
Yeah, it's true.
And as the author of Live Life, then what do you think of that? The difference between European and American lifestyles?
It's choose life.
Choose life. Yeah, choose life. Sorry,
not to laden a point. But
you got to show your book. You don't show it enough. So choose life.
You've seen those tweets, haven't you? And it was who woke me up to that? I can't remember. I had someone on the show, and they're like, you got to shill the book. No one else is gonna do it. Like, if you're proud of your work and you've seen the feedback and the feedback and it's changed people's lives, then what's holding you back? And hit a nerve. So I have started trying to shill it once per week, and a few people have been picking it up and sending nice texts. So I do truly hope it adds some value to people. So the difference, it's strange because the UK where I grew up has very much the same kind of ethos as the American work ethic, and that's just
that's
like
true. Much different than France.
oh my god. It's like, let's go. Like we got a job to do here. We got to deliver. We got to go. There's money to be made. Let's grab this thing by the scruff of the neck and add value and good service. And let's do our best. And I then spent 15 years in Asia, where like in the service industry in particular, it's incredible. They're 5-star, 6-star, all over there. It's brilliant. And then when we came back to Europe, we were trying to settle down a little bit and slow the traveling down, and that's why we ended up house sitting. I can make this into an answer. Yeah, there were 2 questions on your thread, but I will get to them if the guys tune in and listen. We will talk about that. And my God, our first weekend here, it was a Sunday, and in the area we were, it's like a countryside area like that. There's no supermarkets. This is 5 years ago. There were no supermarkets open on Sunday. You had to make it to the local market to buy your fresh fruit and vegetables and whatever else. So we managed to do that. That was all good. Then the next day, we're like, right, we need to do a bit more of a shop here. Get some actual staples in, and the cupboards were bare. Right, we just literally arrived. We got a family of 6 to feed, and that ain't restaurants every day. That's it's shopping and doing all the boring chores and stuff. And we got to the local supermarket, and as we walked in, we're starting to pick, we've got our list and we're going around, and we're in the freezer cabinet section, and we're getting the cheese or the milk, whatever else. And all of a sudden, this screen started coming down, and then there's an announcement across the shop in French very quickly. And we'd only been here like second day, 0 French is going in yet. But we suddenly realized, oh shit, they're closing the shop. It was like 10 to 12. And it wasn't going to open again for another 2.5 hours after 12 o'clock. There's a supermarket. Yep. So we used to have a TV show in the UK called Supermarket Sweep. My wife and I just took a basket each, and we're just running around trying to like dip under these screens that were coming down to close off the freezers and the refrigerated sections. It was ridiculous, and it still catches us out sometimes. And lunch is like between 12 and 2. That's it. If you walk into a place at 1:15, 1:30 to try and sit down, forget it. You're not getting served. Yeah. No way. That's far too close to closing time. Yeah. It's like, what? You guys are running a restaurant. And they don't care about turning tables. You could sit there with an espresso and take up a table for 3, and they're not going to care. They won't try. It's just weird, mate.
It's just a different lifestyle.
Completely. And there is something to be said for it. But it's good and bad. They complain a lot that they're not paid well and whatever else. It's like, well, whatever happened to, like, you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
When
you
was that last?
You get out what you put in,
and then you go to Spain. You just cross the border to Spain, and it's like 3 o'clock. Everything closes, like everything, like ghost town. And then it'll open up again around 5 or 6 and stay open till 9 or 10. And then people go out to dinner at 10 o'clock. You're like, what? There's an imaginary line in the sand, and like this country does that and that country does this, and it's completely different. It's incredible. It's great living in Europe and crossing the borders when you're allowed to travel around and just dip into the different cultures and the different languages. Like, it's so crazy that you can just drive across a border and then bam, it's completely different language, completely different culture.
I learned that my best friend from college is from Switzerland. And whenever I went over there with him in the summer during college, we went, first trip we did to a different country was to Milan. And, it was like a 2.5 hour drive or something like that, which here, like I live in Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. and people always assume that Philadelphia and Pennsylvania are right next to each other, and it takes 5 hours to drive there.
Right.
You know, like so in the time that it took me to like drive to Philadelphia, I could have been to Italy and back, and that wasn't even just like the border of Italy. That was like going to a city that and yeah, and you just go like you do that quick drive, and it just like completely different world than you were in, and it's a once borders open back up, I recommend that to everybody if we can ever do that again. So one thing I wanted to say, so when we this is interesting. When we first talked, the interview was on February 4th. And the reason I wanted to do an interview because I'm trying to round out so that I do an average of one a week, and the 52nd one will come out like the end of the year. But you were the first one, obviously. You were the one that got me going on this and pushed me down this crazy, crazy trail. And so I thought, okay, let's do a mid-year like catch up and see how things are going. See what's happening in the Bitcoin world. So we did that on February 4th, and the price was 38K. And I was surprised. I thought it would be like in the 20s. I was like, oh, it was probably in the 20s whenever we were talking. But yeah, it was 38K. So today it's 32K. Yeah, how you feeling? You feeling the same?
Where have we been since?
We've
been up to 65 and change, right?
Yep, we hit 65, and then it was funny. We waffled in like the 50s for what felt like years, but I think it was probably like a month or so. And I was like trying to recap. I'm like, what are the things that have happened since we talked? So, Elon bailed, NFTs became a thing, Breedlove shitcoined, and then you had the conference in El Salvador. So just a couple things. Nothing much has changed other than that. The price is just around the same. Yeah. What's your take on what's been going on these last 6 months?
It's crazy, man. Like up, down, all around. Just another week in Bitcoin, and
I totally get it now. By the way, because I was only on an up ride, and I doubled my stack at 57K, and that was after it had gone up to 64 and come down. And it's when the cash became available, and I went and just doubled it. So I think right now I'm like, technically, if you look at my fiat endpoint, I don't even really keep that close a track of it, but I'm technically almost even. I had quite a meteoric rise getting in March of 2020. And I've had to buy a lot in order to get back down to even, but yeah, I want to feel the pain. But so this is what it's like, I guess. This is when Bitcoin's broken and everybody's flipping out. Is this normal for you guys? Is this what I should expect the normal to be from now on?
Yes. Yeah, it's great to feel it, and I'm glad you're not trying to trade into it, because that's when you truly get wrecked. And that's when you will lose your mind, and that's when you'll rage quit Bitcoin, because you're trying to pick highs and you're trying to pick lows and you're trying to be cute and you've got stop losses on and margin calls. Bitcoin doesn't care. It just does not care. It just blows through all of that, and the third party people that you're using to manage those positions, they don't care either.
Nope.
So the only person
either way.
Exactly. The only person that cares about you is you. And the only way to, just DCA and just stack. Or if you've got a windfall come through for whatever reason, and your level of conviction is high enough just to put that straight in and not even lose one wink of sleep over it, do it.
That is the amazing thing. I haven't. And when
I sleep better. Have you got to the point where you sleep better? Because the conviction, yeah, that's a turning point right there. And that took years for me, like probably 4 or 5 years.
I have to credit all of you guys. I've say this over and over again, but all of you guys that came before us have made this so much easier for all of us, because like The last episode I did released was with the U.S. bobsledder Johnny Quinn. You should hook up with him. He'd be a good interview for you. You'd get some good stuff. By the way, me and you end up interviewing a lot of the same people, and we totally do that by accident. For everybody that, like, I always notice, like, I'll interview somebody, and then like 3 weeks later, you interview the same person. I'm like, I swear we're not trying to copy each other, but but I like it because you have we have different interview styles, um, and you get different things out of it. So I try to, if I'm going to interview somebody that you interviewed, I try to make sure I don't ask any of the same questions, and just so the people that listen to both of us don't go, oh, here we go again. They're not going to talk about the same thing. But this guy, what were you going to say?
There's so few of us out there, so crossovers happen all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It just shows you how early we are. But so what'd you say his name was? Johnny Quinn, Bob? Yeah.
Johnny Quinn, yeah. He was a U.S. bobsledder in 2014, and he started following me. So then after he was following me for a little bit, and I saw him, liking tweets and stuff like that, I think him and I were in a Twitter Spaces together. I reached out to him and said, hey, you want to come on? You obviously seem you're into Bitcoin if you're following. So I brought him on, and the dude is all the way to the point where him and his wife are hammering seed phrases into steel, like Bitcoin maximalist, and he gets it. And he also understands how early he is in his learning process. And I'm thinking to himself, okay, he's got to be like me. His first buy was in 2020. His first buy was 2021.
Wow.
And he's already stamping in the steel. I was like, whoa, like, dude, you have. So to get back to the point was like, all of you guys before us have just helped us leapfrog into where you guys, it took maybe years. Now it takes months. There's still, it's not like we're on the same level, you still have a lot of learning to do and everything. But as far as, that's the turning point. Like you said, whenever you're no longer worried about the price, like when you can go to bed. I used to, early on, I put stop losses on. I was like, oh shit, like if it, I'm all in for Bitcoin, but if it drops like 20%, like I want to, while I'm sleeping, I want it to kick off and sell, and then when I stopped, and I just was like I got my parents to invest at 48, of course. It took me a year, and then I finally got them in at 48. And to their credit, they're very proud. And I know my dad I'm very proud of them. I know my dad's probably going to listen to this at some point, but they've not flinched either. They've looked at me like, like what's going on, but I said this in a Twitter space. I said that's probably going to end up being something that'll, as time goes on, just be something they end up handing down to their grandkids. Something like that, like where they, once it goes parabolic, it'll be such a game changer and everything. So, anyways, I got to that point, like you said, that switch where you're no longer worried about the price. It doesn't matter. And people probably think it's like pandering, but I tweeted and said, oh, the price crashed and my Satoshi stayed the same. Like I have the same exact amount of Bitcoin as I did before. So what's the problem?
Absolutely. And, if you're doing the DCA, a daily DCA, your stack just got higher.
Yeah.
And that's all that counts.
That's the beautiful thing. That's when you see that the same amount of money. I always say I'm like a violent DCAer because I violently dollar cost average, because I run my own businesses and everything. Not like everyone, like most people, where you work a salary and like X number of dollars you're going to have left over. So what I do is basically my salary just covers like our expenses, so I can live free, like not worrying about that stuff. And then when certain windfalls come in and the expenses line up right, then I can take stuff out, and it'll come in like, I'm not like bragging. I'm not trying to say. I'm just saying it comes in large chunks. And if you're a salesperson too, you totally get that, because people's sales commissions come in large chunks. And so I always say it's a violent dollar cost averaging, because all of a sudden it's like, and then you just push it all right into Bitcoin. And I'm like, man, I wish I could have spread that out over 5 weeks, but instead I just did it all at once. Like whenever I doubled my stack at 58K, whatever. I mean, it's fine.
It's going to be a rounding error in what, like in two halvings time. Where are we going to be? It's going to be, you imagine, right? It's 2028 and you're talking to a pre-coiner and the guy says to you, so, when did you get it? And you're like, oh man, I remember that time I got some at 57K and I was so angry with myself because then it went down to 35. The guy's going to be looking at you like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you moaning about? It's 1.5 million. And like, you're worried about like buying at 37 instead of 48 and like at 48 instead of 37. Like no one wants to hear your freaking boohoo story. Like, move
it's
on.
like when Guy Swan told me that he, he wasn't complaining, but him and his brother bought at 30 for $30. They were looking at it when it was 10 cents and it went up to $30 when he finally bought. And then it just absolutely crashed down to $1 or something like that, And it's like, at the time, it had to have been terrible feeling, but now it's like, oof, man, that would be great. I'd give anything to have that crash,
Yeah, that's the thing, right? How low do you want this to go? If people are out there thinking, I wish I had more Bitcoin, wish I had more stack, whatever, then you should be praying for the price to go down. Mm-hmm. And if it goes down, then you load up, you back up the truck, just keep stacking, keep your head down, keep the weekly dollar cost average going, daily, whatever it is you can do. Use those apps that are out there. Use those companies that, the Bitcoin only ones. Don't flirt with any of the shitcoiny ones. And,
as soon as my bank lets me, I'm going to start using the Strike, but my bank won't connect to Strike.
Damn.
And it won't connect to Fold either. I got a Fold card and my bank won't do either. And I just bought some today, some Bitcoin from my bank, and it didn't show up on my bank statement right away. So I'm really curious. Just like, am I going to get shut down? What's going to happen here?
You could be in line for a new bank. Yeah, who knows?
So yeah, what are the? You go ahead and show your guys. You have for the dollar cost averaging and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guys that picked up on my show early and were kind enough to show interest in it and back the show. In the US, it's swanbitcoin.com. Mm-hmm. I think everybody is aware of that service right now. I'm not so sure many people are aware of their private service. That's definitely worth looking into for larger buys. It doesn't have to be the $10 a day. If you can go to swanbitcoin.com /bitten and then just hit their private tab, they will deal with one-time purchase large amounts and they will help you. It's like a white glove service of theirs. And you can do that from outside of the US as well. So if you say you're looking, maybe you've had a chunk of money land in your lap for whatever reason.
What's their minimum?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I would think in the tens of thousands, you're looking at like, a good chunk. So maybe someone sold a house or a property or inheritance or whatever.
Or is a millionaire.
Someone is a high net worth individual. Yeah. Who knows? They have a private service, which is a concierge type thing. And they're Bitcoin only guys. Everybody listening probably knows Corey and Jan, who are the founders. Jan is the author of Inventing Bitcoin, which is a brilliant book for beginners to pick up. Really excellent book, very underrated. And, they're doing a great job. They've got a great team around them as well. And then across Europe, you can use Relay. It's relai.ch. And that's /bitten as well. And you can euro cost average or Swiss cost average out of fiat and into Satoshis and they are really low KYC. It's really cool because they're a broker. They're not a provider. So they have an affiliation with Bitty, the oldest Bitcoin exchange in Switzerland. And they've just got a great service and a great app. It's really cool. They're hoping to get Lightning up and running soon, so you can withdraw and start shooting payments a lot cheaper than is currently set up. But what I love about shilling these companies is they throw me a little bit to say their name on the podcast. I'm not making a living out of this, but at the same time, I'm helping companies that I'm truly aligned with their ethos, that they're Bitcoin only. And if we can't help the companies that are building in the space gain some kind of traction, then what are we here to do? If we've got to try and this at this point we're still all arms linked in the center of the field. Like at that point in the game, like let's fucking do this. Like let's help each other out. And in the UK, it's coinfloor.co.uk, and Obi's been on the show. We're due to do another catch-up call soon and talk about their app they're going to be dropping because they've just been purely Bitcoin exchange for just over a year, and you can auto buy with them as well, so you can set it up weekly, linked to your bank account in the UK. So they're doing all the right things. And then the hardware wallet is the Bitbox wallet, the Bitbox O2 by Shift Crypto, Swiss company. I love the fact a Swiss company making hardware wallets. I don't know, so that just feels good.
It feels right.
Right.
If they weren't a landlocked country, I would move there.
Yeah.
Because even like my friend lives there, so it's like, I already have I have people there. I know where I go, but it's landlocked. So I'm like, if you build up a wall around it, you can't go to the beach.
They have amazing lakes.
They do have amazing lakes.
So you can get your fix of, well, they don't call them beaches, they call them lidos, and it's generally grassy, but you can go and relax by the lake and jump in it and go sailing and stand up paddleboarding and do all the cool stuff.
The name of it? What's the name of the lake? My friend's mom lives right by a lake, and it's just like unbelievably gorgeous.
Which city are they close to? Do you remember?
So they are like a 45-minute drive to Zurich, 30-minte drive to Zurich on the Autobahn. I think it's Richtersville, near Richtersville. It's just like this lake that stretches as far as you can see. And they were like, they were trying to tell me early on it's not a big lake. And they were thinking that I'm thinking of the Great Lakes. And so I'm waiting for this pond.
Right.
And then when we get there, and I'm like, dude, this is a real lake. And they're like, yeah, but not like, the Great Lakes. I'm like, oh, no, we don't even consider those lakes. Like, that's not really a lake. That's, a huge body of water. I was like, but these are great. And then like, you could see the Alps like around it. And it was just like,
and the beautiful old steamers, right, are just slipping along with a great big Swiss flag at the back. Did they have those going? Yeah.
Yep.
You get in those things and you can see the engine at work. It's just a thing of engineering beauty. It's unbelievable. We love taking those boats when we're in Switzerland and, checking them out and just sitting on the lake. And it's such a cool place. It really is. I do love that country. We were there in August, actually, staying on Lac Le Mans, just right in the middle between Geneva and Montreux. And it was a little town called Lutry on a home swap. And we went and spent a week there. And my wife has some family in there, so we went and stayed in the north. Big fan of Switzerland. Love it.
Yeah. It's a beautiful country, and their chocolate and cheese is amazing. But in Europe, all of your chocolate and cheese is better than ours because it doesn't have all the preservatives and plastic and other stuff in it that we like to add to our stuff. I gotta ask you, so you brought up Swan Bitcoin, and I have no idea, since you know those guys. I don't know them and I don't know Plan B, but I know that Corey from Swan does not like Plan B or something. What is, I don't keep up the tabs on Twitter beef, so like is that like, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but
I definitely steer away from Twitter beef as well. It's not.
Is it just all over? It's all over the model, right? Like I saw somebody. Which I can't.
The model is Marmite. You either hate it or you love it. Again, I just sit. Maybe it's a bit gay of me. I just sit on the fence. It's like, well, let's just see in 10 years. Like, if it holds, that's going to be pretty amazing. I bet we're still arguing about it, but like,
Oh yeah. I mean, one thing I've learned is that Bitcoin Twitter has to argue. Like, there's just nothing but arguments. So that's why I'm just like, I do like the Homer Simpson, just like, just drift into the bushes and
absolutely. And the fights are most intense. You can tell the price of Bitcoin without looking at the price of Bitcoin by just seeing what's going on Bitcoin Twitter. If everyone's fucking fighting with each other and going crazy over like just random shit, it's like, all right, we must be sideways. How long we've been sideways? Because this is like,
it's almost like people on a boat, pirates on a boat without wind for a month,
yes.
where they're just sitting there like getting cabin fever. It's like like, because at that point they're like, I take a hurricane, like whatever, like anything other than flat water. My father-in-law was in the Navy. He said, so like, you don't see white caps for a while. It gets a little boring out there. You're just like, just sitting there like, okay, well, another day of nothing but water all around me, doing nothing. And so that kind of makes sense. If we're going sideways, then everybody starts to get a little crotchety.
Yeah. And in the bear market, you'll find that's where so much great stuff happens. When everything like, when all the fiat economists start, their circle jerking over Bitcoin's going to die and whatever else, that really gives people, I don't know, everyone just goes almost into themselves. They just start building shit. They start writing shit. I start making shit, creating, like, and then all of a sudden, as soon as this new wave starts coming back, and all the new guys that are coming in saying, "What's this Bitcoin thing?" And so, well, I just built an app for you because I knew you were coming. Yeah. And whilst we were in this bear market, you can now dollar cost average. You're like, we didn't have these apps like 2 years ago. We're nothing. Like it was
these things didn't exist in 2019.
No, like nothing. Like these amazing services you can have now, and all these new wallets with all these new cool things you can do, and all of
the only thing I was told about before was Coinbase. That was it,
right?
Like in 2018 or something.
That's what everybody was just forced to use, basically. Now you have God knows how many different options. All of these
so
cool
glad
different
it's not
apps.
Coinbase, because they are the enemy they are the enemy of Bitcoin. Brian Baldhead, what's his name? Big bulbous head, and I have a huge head. That dude's head, like, I think gets like bigger every time, and it's like going this way. If you're listening and not watching, you can't really tell, but I'm not making fun of the guy because I got a big head. But like when you have a big head like me and like he does, you don't shave it, and if you're bald, you figure out some hair plugs or something. you don't. When you have a big head, you don't want to ever shave it. I had a teammate. I don't know if you remember the baseball player, but my one teammate he said, if you ever shave your head, you're going to look like Barry Bonds. Do you remember Barry Bonds? He was the home run hitter for baseball, and he jacked up on all steroids, and his head got massive all of a sudden. So they always said, they're like, don't shave your head because you'll be like Barry Bonds, But anyways, outside of Coinbase, what do you think's going to happen here? I mean, everybody's throwing around their predictions. I think we're coiling right now, and the question is, are we coiling up in the spring and the mattress is going to shoot through the bottom of the mattress, or is it going to shoot upwards?
Oh man, I mean, this is the beauty of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to do what Bitcoin's going to do, and I think we saw the beauty of the difficulty adjustment, which just adjusted down like 27-28% last week, and that just goes to show like how's the best way to explain it? Like it doesn't matter what any of us think. The software protocol, it has
just keeps going.
It has one input, hash rate, and it reacts to it every epoch.
Yeah,
and that's it.
And
that's simple. All it does. And
it's so simple. It's beautiful.
all the shouting and gerrymandering and whatever else, and all the predictions, and they all just go to the wall. As soon as that happens, it's like, well, there's the truth.
Yeah.
Let's go. But fundamentally, so if you, like what analysts like to look at is, what are the fundamentals? So if we said, well, that's Bitcoin's fundamental right there. That's the one fundamental that matters. The difficulty adjustment. It works and it's truth. And it's just taking that one input. And then, you look at, what's the next level? Well, where's the demand coming from? We know the supply is there. We know the supply schedule. It's there. It's written in stone. We know what's happening. So where's the demand? And the demand is just bubbling. There's this pool of lava ready to explode, because look at what companies like NYDIG or NYDIG, however you want to pronounce that company's name, that they have got a huge announcement almost bi-weekly at the moment, where they're bringing on different firms, financial advisory firms, or investment funds, hedge funds, or payment providers, and they are just chipping away to make this a simple way for huge conglomerates or sovereign wealth funds or pension funds, insurance firms to come in and say, mine Bitcoin. And they're just going to stick it straight into cold storage for them. And it will be off the market, because that's
Forever.
where it's, and that's going to
What
underpin.
exactly are they doing there? So they're doing it because these funds can't buy Bitcoin.
Right. Because it's very, very difficult for them to get over the line for purchasing Bitcoin. For someone like Michael Saylor, it's a lot easier because he owned like 70% of MicroStrategy. So he
tells them what he's going to do, and they go, okay,
right. But he did do the right thing. He did the deep dive, and he got the board on side, and everybody understood it. And then MicroStrategy, through their business day, and basically showed the whole playbook of how it was done. And I don't know whether did you ever catch the opening interview with Ross Stevens from NYDIG, which Michael Saylor hosted. That one you got to catch. If you just go to YouTube, microstrategy.com, if you go to hope.com and watch the Michael Saylor, Ross Stevens interview. Ross is the CEO and founder of NYDIG, and you can see in the first 20 to 25 minutes, Saylor getting more bullish by what Ross is explaining what's going on his side of the business, on his side of the fence. And it was literally about a week to a week and a half after that interview that Saylor did the first convertible note, huge $500 million purchase, which got oversubscribed. And how many has he done since? I think like 3.
Yeah.
So it's,
it's crazy. That
kind of money is coming in. That's where the demand is. And it's not stopping. El Salvador, it's crazy. And
I wonder how many small to medium-sized companies and stuff like that. Because my one company, we basically did the same thing. Not a convertible note or anything like that, but the interest payments are so low. And it's like, could we afford to pay X number of dollars in interest for the next 5 to 10 years? And what will this Bitcoin look like? And I was just like, all right, let's do it. So it's like, I wonder how many companies like me have done something like that.
More than you give credit to. There's more out there than anybody.
We're not buying 500 million, but if you own an insurance agency, you should be doing. If you own a gas station, you should be doing. A restaurant, you should be hedging somehow, because otherwise you won't be able to afford the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get wiped out. Fiat will wipe you out. There's no doubt.
The work-life balance is something that I want to go over with you, because I feel like it's something that in Bitcoin gets like, once you get into it, you start to understand there's more to life. And another guy that we both not tandem interviewed, but Aaron Ingalls, the golfer. I saw him. I don't know if you saw his tweet earlier today, and he said, he said the Fiat life, 40-hour work week is so Fiat life, and it's
It
like,
is.
man, it really is, because I don't understand. I don't want to work more than I have to. I'm in the weird position that I like what I do. So like, for me to sit there on a 5-hour call talking about like writing a comedy script and like laughing at ideas, it's like, no, that's not work. You know what I mean? Like that is, which makes it really hard. I know my wife doesn't listen to the podcast, but if she did, she'd be sitting here shaking her head, because like, she full-time takes care of the kids, and it's a really hard job. And then I'm sitting there like, I'm like, well, I wish I could help you, but I got to go work, and it's like, I try not to show her how much I enjoy work. It's like, I got to go back to the salt mine, and there with my pick and go to town on the wall here. But it's not like that, but yeah. So if I was in some kind of job where I was just working, oh my God, I'd be escaping that. I'd be getting out of that. I don't understand how people aren't.
Yeah, it's a killer. And 40 hours that's generous. Most people are doing way more than that. When you include
40 billable hours, you add lunch in America. Do they do this in the UK? In America, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's a 9 to 5, but you have to get here at 8:30 and leave at 5:30, because you get an hour. They're like, you get an hour for lunch. We let you take an hour.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy.
What?
And then people don't take into consideration the amount of time that they were commuting. Perhaps not anymore. That's one silver lining of this whole COVID nonsense is that people have found remote work and they found it works, and maybe they can even move professional, move job, and find something different that is more aligned with them getting more family time or more free time. Because God damn, there's some people doing 3 hours a day on a train or a bus, or a mix of both, and this is not life.
No.
I did that for far too many years. I was lucky
to escape London. You did that. You were a trader. You were the Wolf of Wall Street. Not the Wolf of Wall Street. You were like Bud. What's his name from Wall Street?
I was a broker. Not a trader. So in foreign exchange, in the world of fiat, didn't even know the word of fiat even existed. Didn't know the history of money. Didn't care. It was you turn up on your first day of work. It's like, sit down, do this, get that, and this is how this works, and that's how this works, and you just learn, and off you go. And before you know it, 18 years has passed you by, and you're like, bam, is this
what I want?
Another 18 years of this? Another 30 years of this? Like, can I, no, I can't handle that.
Yeah.
And having young kids around and not seeing them. No, it came to, and it was the 4-hour work week that I read that, really kind of challenged every belief that I had. And that really made me take a very, very close look at what I was doing, why I was doing it, what did I want, and how could I change it? What were the risks? What were the fears? What were my fears? And if they came true, what would I have to do what would I have to put in place to get a job again? What would I have to put in place to rectify a situation if one of those fears came true? And then you suddenly realize, by reverse engineering all the fears, there's nothing really there to be afraid of, and it's just you stopping you. You are the person that is your own barrier, and it's very easy to blame the societal construct around you and point fingers at well, if I left my job, then I'd never be able to put my kids through the right school, and there's a list of excuses you can pull out your ass. There really is. and that's the little voice in your head that is stopping you from being you, and living the life that you want to live. Unfortunately, when we leave school or college or university, whatever you want to call it, you take that first job that comes along just to get a wage. 15 years later, you've painted yourself into a career you have no love for.
Yep.
You have no care for the people you work for, and you are just locked into a lifestyle that you are running on a hamster wheel to keep up with the Joneses. And I look back on some of the decisions that I made. You make decisions under duress, and they're never ever the right decisions. You don't think things through. The knee-jerk reactions. You throw money at problems instead of actually trying to get to the root of them, and it's a big trap. It really is. So listening to you explain, your job, you're on a 5-hour call and it doesn't feel like work. That resonates with that Steve Jobs quote. If you find something that you can do and you can love and you can make money from, you'll never work an hour in your life. And that's how he felt about Apple. And I don't really think I understood that. I thought it was a very kind of glib quote that he was just throwing out there. But now I see it. Now I understand it. That wasn't work for him building that company. God damn, he loved it. He loved it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's life's too short, to be spending your life doing something that you don't love. And I can't remember, whenever I was on your podcast, did I get into why I quit working on the production end? I think did I explain how I saw the producer working on a movie and I was like, I want to do what you do. And that was, that was my way out. But yeah, it was a very similar thing. I mean, it's a different industry, but when you work in the movie industry, if you get in and you start working on the crew and you start off making crap money, and then eventually there's this carrot that in 3 to 4 years you'll start making pretty okay money, and you're working it's decent money if you're working a regular 9 to 5 job, but on the movie sets you're working 12 to 18 hours a day, 6 days a week usually. You have no life when you're working on a movie. Oftentimes you're out of town. Your family's not with you, your friends aren't with you. So I mean, you have to travel for movies, but I like to do it on my terms like I do now. But I'll never forget, I was working on this movie, this Katherine Heigl movie that ironically my company now distributes. That's the most ironic part about it, is that I make royalties off of this movie that I was a shit level employee on. And
what was the movie?
It was called One for the Money. It was based on a
ironic
book.
As well.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
totally. So I hope the boss, well, this was 12 years ago, so I'm sure he's over it by now. But I was working, we were doing the tech scout where you go to all the sets, where every location's going to be, and working and all that kind of stuff. And I was talking to the guy that was in my direct superior, and he was close to getting to that carrot of money, and so I was asking him questions. We're sitting there at lunch, and he was talking about how he was dating this girl, and but he really wanted to work in the movie business, and she just wanted him to be at home and start a family, and he was I mean, I wanted this. And I'm sitting there literally at lunch looking, and I was you wanted to be standing on your feet for 15 hours and getting shit on by people just so that your name can show up at the very tail end of the credits, and you chose that over love and a family. What? And so that literally was eating away at me the rest of the day. And I go home. At this point, I was still living at my parents' house because we were shooting in Pittsburgh, so I was at home. But if I was on the road, then I was just in a hotel. So I never, for a while, didn't get an apartment or anything. Um, and I went home, and it was just bothering me. I couldn't sleep, and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I heard my dad get up for some reason. I just went upstairs, and I was like, Dad, I'm miserable. And he was like, what? Like, I thought this is what you wanted, And I explained to him, I was like, the whole kind of thing I just said. And I was like, that's not what I want in life. I was like, I mean, I want to make movies. I want to be in this business, but I want to do the stuff I like. I was like, I don't like getting coffee for people or stopping traffic, And I was like, and just because people tell me that that's what you have to do to get ahead, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, I don't have to sit there and just be a low man on the totem pole. Like, I'm not waiting till I'm 30 to get ahead. Like, screw that. And I was just going on and on. And he was like, what are you going to do? And I was like, honestly, Dad, I was like, the thought of going to work tomorrow is like, it's paralyzing. I can't do it. I was like, I can't even bring myself to do it. And he said, email and quit. He was like, do it right now. Just email them, say you can't come in. And I was supposed to be there in like 3 hours. And so I did. I was just like, I can't come in. I had a reason. I mean, it wasn't totally a bullshit reason. My dad was going down to his sister, who was like 6 months away from going to hospice care, needed to move back home. And he was like, just come with me. Like, let's go. Let's move Aunt Kristen back. Let's take care of her and all that kind of stuff, and just clear your head. And that worked. That was like, okay, now I have a vision. I had to unfortunately go back and work on movie sets as a crap person just to earn some money while I was figuring out my next steps. But yeah, it was a kind of that realization that probably you had, where you're just like, this is miserable. I can't even imagine what it was like sitting at a desk with a Bloomberg terminal in front of you.
Yeah.
Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And you end up working in that industry. I'm sure it's the same in any industry. The office psychopath rises to the top of that totem pole. He who shouts the loudest and stamps his feet the hardest ends up being your boss somehow, because for whatever reason, management think he's a guy that can lead a team. Is the total opposite. And and you end up working for grumpy customers that are just down. Like, everybody in that business was just fully charged, trying to prove something to themselves. And it was a very, very stressful environment. Great fun when you're a young man, but not when you've got wife and kids.
Now, how many hours would you have to put in a day?
You'd be at a desk at 6:30 in the morning, and generally leave around between 5 p.m. It depended what was going on, because it would be, the bulk of my career was in Asia. So if London would come in our afternoon, between like 2 or 3 o'clock, depending on winter or summer times, and if the market really started getting crazy after 5 o'clock, then you might be in your seat till 7, and you don't take lunch breaks. Like, they're not a thing.
No.
The only time you leave your desk is to go to the toilet. You have runners to get your coffees and your teas and your breakfast and your lunch and your afternoon snack, whatever it is. And
you're just sitting still.
Yeah, the whole time. And you're surrounded by screens. You've got like 3 or 4 monitors and Bloomberg terminals, and you've got like 16 speakers in front of you, and each one is assigned to a different bank, and that's who your customer base is. And each one of those has a different chat. So you've got a different chat going on, and you've got to quote everything that is happening in the market by voice down the microphone. And at the same time, you've got 2 handset phones on the go in case somebody wants to talk to you privately. And you've got to update every single chat with all of the market. Everything you quote, you've got to type. And then you've got to hear everything that's being said by your peers and colleagues, and everything that's being said down the speaker from the Tokyo office or the London office when they're in. And everything's being said by your peers' customers that you can hear over the live open boxes, open speakers. So it's exhausting. Come the end of the day, like, if you're like,
you're just spent,
plugged into the matrix all day long. You're spent. Yeah, you're absolutely spent. And then the first thing you want to do is go and blow off some steam, and take a couple of drinks in the local bar and meet with some of your clients, or just go and vent with some of your colleagues. And then you get home, and this is where it all started unraveling, when you go home to a family and that's bedtime and everyone's going fucking bananas.
Oh,
and, you walk into that shit show, and then you just fall into your dip in the sofa, and you eat dinner on your lap, you watch some mindless bullshit on television, and you wake up and you rinse and repeat, and you do all that shit again. And then you get to the weekend, and you go and blow off on a Friday night, and then you do something family driven on a Saturday, and then Sunday around 2 or 3 o'clock, that dread just starts rising, and it wasn't great. So I remember getting back in 2012, just after the Christmas break, Jan 2nd, 3rd, whatever it was, and just switching on my computer, and I was underneath my desk turning it on, and I just thought to myself, another 10 to 20 of this? No fucking way. No way. No way. I'm done. And I escaped that business in 2012. And
how long after that moment was it that you actually quit?
That took me until I walked out the office on the last day of September. So yeah, it was a 9-month process.
That's honestly about how long it took me too to actually, like, I quit that one job, but I still was taking other ones for about 9 months, just because you can't just walk out, like in the movies. Like you have to plan your exit strategy.
Absolutely. And at this point, I'd been working for that particular firm for just over 4 years, and they had forced RSUs on us. So we had, you're basically buying back your own company stock for them to try and pump. It was just a despicable scheme. So you're long all of this company stock, and the first thing they think when you resign, I remember, I've still got the recording somewhere. The first thing they think is you're going to a competitor. And so I had to resign to, I chose the worst week. Well, I didn't choose life chose. We had our New York guys in, and they're just like a couple of mafioso New Yorkers. And I was resigning to my boss, who was the global head at the time of our product. And in walk these two guys at this time. I'm like, oh shit! All right, we're going to do this now, are we? Like, we right? Okay, this is what's going on. Blah blah blah. And one guy turned around, he's like, "Where the fuck you going?" I'm like, I looked at him. I'm like, "Excuse me." He's like, "Where the fuck you going? I want to know right now. Where the fuck you going?" I'm like, "No, I think you misunderstand. I'm just leaving the biz. I'm done. I'm at this point. I'm 17 years into this. I can't quote. I can't quote another number. It's. I think it's probably good for you guys and good for me that we just part ways. What are you gonna do? Okay, all right. So I gave him the answer. It's like, I've got this other job lined up. There's a friend of mine. He's opening a branch of his recruitment business in Singapore that was based in Amsterdam and Manchester at the time. I'm going to go hang with him for 6 months, and I'm going to see if I can set up a banking and finance sector for him and his new business. So that's the plan. You turn up at another shop, your stock will turn to dust. You fucking understand me? Your stock will turn to dust. I'm like, is this a film? Have you watched too many films? Like, this is someone's life you're fucking with. Like, this is just retarded. But this is what it's like, mate. And there you go. So I did the right thing by the company, did the right thing by myself. And 9 months later, I walked out of that business, and it took me another 1.5 years to figure out. I just didn't want to work in any kind of markets anymore, because I did that 6 month thing, and then I ended up in the commodity markets, And then I was just done and out, and haven't looked back. And this is all pre-Bitcoin as well. I hadn't found Bitcoin. I'd heard about it, but I hadn't taken the pill
and jumped in. So yeah, so that for anyone that's listening that is stuck in their fiat job, listen to that story, listen to my story. But like I don't know if this is the case for you, Daniel, but it was for me. Is that, I mean, there is no better feeling than whenever you finally get to leave.
Mm-hmm.
But once you make that decision, the weight, there is a weight lifted off your shoulders. So, if you're sitting there stuck at a fiat job right now and you hate it and every day is miserable, but you decide today that you're done, it might take 9 months to get out, and you have to get your affairs in order. You have to figure things out. How am I going to provide? How am I going to, let things settle? But man, making that decision, the weight that comes off your shoulders, you're doing the same thing every day, but that last 9 months, I bet, was a lot easier for you than the previous 9 months.
Oh man. And so I'll tell you a story. Making that decision, and the biggest time I ever felt that weight lift is when we made the decision to quit and to leave Singapore and to take the kids traveling. And we were on holiday for the New Year in Bali with another family, friends of ours. And, I was on my fourth read of the 4-hour work week, and I'd taken it along to the holiday, and we were by the pool. Our kids were all running around and splashing in the pool and whatever else. And, I'd be bugging the shit out of my mate. I'm like, listen to this bit. Listen to this bit. I've been doing the same to my wife for months. And listen to this bit. He's like, Jesus Christ, mate, you're like a broken record. I'm like, I'm going to fucking do it, I'm going to do it. We're going to be gone. We're going to be gone. And he's like, I thought you were good because you'd already quit the last job and whatever else. I'm like, yeah. So they stayed on a couple of days later than we did. And a week later, we were all back in Singapore, and they came over to our place to have dinner and catch up. And they walked through the door, and he stopped. They both stopped, and they looked at us. And like, "The fuck is different with you two? Like, what's going on? Like, what do you mean? What have you done? Like, there's something really weird. What you
like? They could sense like something was different.
Something's different about you guys." And I'm like, what? We lose our town? What? You fucking with us? And he's like, no. What is it? I'm like, yeah, we're leaving. He's like, this is like, this whole house feels different. It's strange, mate.
The energy shift.
The anxiety that just lifts from you, and you can start being you. You can start making much more informed decisions. It's because you don't have to wear this mask anymore, and you don't have to, you're not bound by these chains, and you feel as though you're taking self-control, the self-sovereignty. Yep. I just made a huge decision in my life. Bam. Done. That feels fucking great. What's next? And it's very, very, it's so empowering that more and more people just they've really got to trust themselves and do it. Because if you don't, then what? That's the risk. It's riskier to hang around for the next 10 years than it is just to say, nah, I got Bitcoin. Most people listening to this are going to have Bitcoin, right? I got Bitcoin. Doesn't matter whether you've got half a Satoshi or 6.15 coins, whatever it is, whatever the means.
What is this? Yeah, I'll have to ask. But anyways, keep going.
And it really doesn't matter. You're stacking. You've already changed your mindset. It's just taking that one extra step. And when you hold your feet to the fire, like you said, getting your affairs in order, all of a sudden that becomes so damn easy. It's like, because the amount of shit we had to, like, we almost didn't do it because of the amount of admin we were facing and the amount of like
canceling,
throwing the
cable
keys
and-
back, like to the apartment, canceling cable. Yeah, exactly. Rejigging.
I gotta change
all of
this
these,
bill and
Yeah, all of that bullshit. Selling the furniture, selling the car, selling all of that crap. It's like listing on Craigslist and Facebook and eBay and whatever else, and Gumtree, finding all of these different avenues you can just push the shit out the door. But as soon as that stuff started leaving, you're getting more space in your house, you're getting more space in your mind, and money's coming in. And you're keeping a spreadsheet of all the stuff that you're selling and how much money's coming in. Again, this was pre-Bitcoin. I could have been stacking. I could have been selling chairs and stacking.
I know you could have done the meme.
Yeah.
So you literally sold everything.
Yeah, we kept a handful of like beautiful wooden Asian teak furniture. I'm sitting at a desk right now that we knew was going to be unique to us, and artwork that we'd bought on our travels, and things that had value to us, but otherwise, like like tables and chairs and sofas and all that shit. Yeah, see ya. Televisions, hi-fi, stereos, golf clubs, whatever. Buy it in a different location when I need it, or rent it, or borrow it, and off we go. So we sold the car on the day we left. That was stressful as fuck.
Oh, I'm sure, because you're just like, you don't want that guy to know how desperate you are to get rid of the car.
No,
because he could cut his price in half and be like, hey,
yeah,
I'll give you half what I said.
All of this stuff. It comes together. But do you want to address some of the questions that were thrown under the tweet?
I guess we should, because wow, we've been going a while.
Yeah, otherwise I know we'll just keep banging on.
Yeah, let's see. So I gotta find. I love tweeting while I'm recording. By the way, to everyone that's out there in Twitter, I took 2 hours yesterday to make a video that got absolutely zero traction.
What the fuck? Where is it? I'm going to tweet it. Not that that's going to make much of a difference either, but just to show you some love.
I'll DM it to you. This isn't me trying to. I'm not desperate for. But yeah, it's just one of those things.
Bitcoin Simply. Here we are.
I had this idea. I was like, dude, I got to do this. So I did it and got literally like
5 likes, 1 retweet.
Yeah. Like zero traction. I was like, wow, I did not expect that. And
it's Lex Grossman, right? Les Grossman. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Boots with the fur.
Yeah. Except I used that opportunities. I've got the brains, you've got the brawn. Let's make lots of money. Because the idea was he's watching. That's what the whole video is. He's watching, the news report. Oh, Bitcoin crashed down below 38K, and then it's like what all the plebs do. They just get up and they start dancing and buying the fucking dip.
I'm watching it now. I need to watch it with the music on. But if I do that, it's going to screw the recording up. But okay.
Yeah. You have to.
It's retweeted, liked. Yeah.
But it's just funny. It's like one of those things where I was like, dude, this is so good. And there's a longer version that like I could do up to like 2 minutes. And I had ideas to like throw different things in there and like funny jokes. But I was also like, well, that's going to take a lot of time. Yeah. And I'm going to be even more mad if I spend that much time on it and then it gets zero traction. So I was like, so I've spent 2 hours on it. And if it goes nowhere, I'll just be kind of mad. And then it went nowhere. And I was like, damn it.
Mate, and, I've done this so many times. I made a meme. It took me hours one Sunday afternoon. And it was the meme from Good Will Hunting, where Robin Williams finally makes the breakthrough with Matt Damon. The famous "It's not your fault."
Not your fault. Oh
it's
man,
not your fault.
Makes me cry every time.
It's not your fault. So I did a meme. I did a Bitcoin meme to that, and I just didn't have the skills. I still don't. I had to. It took me ages. I was rejigging the. I didn't do a voiceover to it. I just did the transcript underneath.
Yeah.
Trying to get all of that perfectly linked up to, like, it took me ages, absolutely ages, and I pushed it out there, and a few people kind of found it quite funny, and then the meme tards picked up on it, like Pubby and all those guys, Greg Zarge, and they were like, dude, this is like some weak ass shit. This is like one of the worst memes I've ever seen. So I got some feedback. It wasn't the feedback I was looking for, but it was all in good fun, tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
I still think it's a great meme.
No, and I mean, it's one of those things. What I need to do once my company gets even bigger, and I can just hire somebody. I'm going to hire somebody as a meme maker,
right?
And they're gonna, because I have the ideas, but I just don't have the time to sit there. To sound like, oh, I'm so important. I literally don't have the time. I was like, yesterday, I was like, I have 2 hours to kill where I can be okay with myself and not doing the other stuff I need to do. Because as much as I do love my job, there is a lot of administration stuff that, I can't wait to shove onto somebody else and make that their responsibility.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like, oh man, this is gonna crush it, and it went 0, and I was, well, I made a meme of the meme. I did that Bad Luck Brian, I don't know if you could see it on my feed, where I was like, spends 2 hours on making this meme. Thinking it's gonna be great or something, and Twitter tells me like it wasn't worth the time or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened.
It's funny, mate. And then you like, it's weird what just gets traction.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Almost, it's just
no, there really isn't.
So let's go to the questions.
Yep.
So, all right, Wilbur wrong. He wrote and said, so you could be living anywhere in the world and you chose France. Why? And I agree with him. Nothing against France. It is a beautiful place. Been there many times. But they are crazy right now. So how do you live with that moral conflict?
Oof. Okay. Well, yes. Why did we choose France? The absolute truthful answer is France chose us. And this was back in 2016. We came here in May 2016. So not orange pilled by any stretch of the imagination. Stacking, playing around, trying to understand it, but not at all orange pilled. Not anywhere near to the level of not to the level of distrust of governments, to the level of distrust of systems, and
you still had belief, you still had faith in the system.
We'd come by that point. We'd bounced around for 2.5 years, and we had just been free, because by the time we left Singapore, we'd been out of the UK for 15 years. They didn't care. They didn't know where we were or what we were doing. Singapore, they were like, yeah, whatever. See you later. Just another expat family that have been here and now they're leaving. So no one cared. We're taking the kids out of school. We were doing the world schooling thing. We didn't have anyone chasing after us. Are you keeping up with curriculum or doing like remote long distance schooling and anything? We were gone. Like, holy shit. I had tax commitments in Singapore, but that was all on auto. You guys know the bank account details. Take it when you need it. You know what I've earned, and that's all done. And everywhere we went, we were just tourists, and it's amazing. Tourists get treated the best, right? And
oh yeah,
we were home swapping, so we were down to zero cost on accommodation. We were buying food that we needed from local markets or like the local supermarkets, and just keeping costs as low as possible, and just doing sensible things, and spending our time walking around the cities or the suburbs where we were staying, and visiting the free museums, the free parks, the whatever, the libraries, doing all of this cool stuff and getting to know different parts of the world. And after 2.5 years, we were just like pretty spent. And you're packing.
It can be it can be spent. It can take a lot of energy to do that.
When you're packing up and moving every other week or to 10 days, whatever it is. And there's 6 of you, and the youngest when we started were a pair of 3-year-olds. It's an operation.
Yeah. Wait, so you have twins?
Yeah, the last 2 are twins. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So Lauren has a twin brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were 3.
Yeah. Wow. So by the time we turned up in France, and we got the opportunity to take on a house sit, which was the answer to the other question.
Yeah.
Difference between house sitting and home swapping. So we got a chance to house sit for 2 to 2.5 months in France, and just
that somebody that was just like on vacation or
taking me. So house sitting, what's different? The most common reasons people are looking for people to house sit are it's a vacation home, it's a second home that they have somewhere else, which they're not using, and they don't want to rent out because they can't be bothered doing hiring a company to do the changeovers, hiring somebody to listing it on Airbnb or virtual rent by owner, and maybe there's tax implications for taking in rental and stuff. So they just prefer, I don't want to do that. I just want to have a second home, and that means it's going to be empty. And if I can find someone to take care of it that's trusted, because there's websites like Trusted House Sitters or Trusted Pet Sitters that you can sign up to and look for these gigs, and you form a relationship with the people before you turn up, and you have a set of instructions. Maybe you've got to look after the garden. Maybe you've got to clean out the pond every once a week, or maybe they're having building works done, and you've just got to be there to let in the plumbers and the builders or whatever that's going on with the extension. It could be 1,000 different reasons that somebody needs a house sitter. Or there's a pet sitters, somebody, it's a pain in the ass to put your dog in a kennel for 2 or 3 weeks if you're going on a holiday. But if you can have somebody come and sit your home, and the dog doesn't have to be taken out of its surroundings, and it's going to get walked every day, and it's going to get fed every day, and it's going to have fun with new people in the house, and the house is going to be looked after. Yeah. And the house is going to be looked after. And the house isn't going to be burgled because there's always movement going on within the house and people coming and going. And there's not going to be a bunch of posts just piling up somewhere because that's being taken care of. And then there's the, some people have small holdings, right, that can't get away. But there are professional house sitters that go around looking after people's just horses because people love horses. And imagine the properties that you could house sit, like bumping around the world.
I'm sure you could get some great ones.
So we got a house sit in the middle of France all over July and August and a little bit into September. And we just started getting a feel for the country. And my wife and I decided there's one thing we could gift to our children. It'd be the ability to speak another language. Mm-hmm. And the older 2 at the time were showing interest. We'd found, just by Facebook groups and whatever else, we'd found a local teenage girl that was just giving out like half-hour French lessons, and the older 2 were going along to that, and they were enjoying it. They were playing card games or whatever else, and so they'd shown interest in learning the language. And here came the hard part, because we knew to get that done, we'd have to put them back in the system. And entering back into a system was the worst. So now all of a sudden,
like, oh, where have you? What grades have you?
So we found a place to rent long term, and then you've got to sign a contract, and then you've got to tell the local the mayor, that you're there, and then you've got to set up a bank account, and then you've got to set up then you've got to get a car. We got a car from the UK. Then you've got to change the plates. All of this administration just kept building up, and doing the administration, getting the kids in the school. It's just form after form after form, and I was like, "Oh man, this is my worst nightmare."
Yep.
But we stuck it out, and you wade through all of that shit, and the kids went back into school and picked up the language, thankfully, pretty quickly. The 3 younger ones are out again now, but my oldest daughter, she stuck with it. She's getting good grades, so she's happy to keep pushing it. She wants to, max it out. So the answer is we didn't choose France. Like it just kind of organically happened. But over the time that we've been here, it's really challenging to accept what's going on. It's really disheartening, discouraging, and it's
got to be easier because you're not in the city, right?
Yes.
But
so here's the thing. The political structure here is just so freaking retarded. It's such a socialist country as well. But this is, again, when I turned up, I wasn't into that whole, I wasn't like, what's socialism, what's capitalism, what's communism, what's, what is money? I didn't even got to that point.
Yeah.
And it all just starts creeping up. And then every time you're like, oh, right, okay. And that's why that works that way. And that's why they do this. And that's why there's bureaucracy over here. And that's why the education system shit. And that's why that, and it all just starts clicking. We all know this, going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. But then, since we've been here, we've had to deal with the Brexit bullshit. All of a sudden, we might not even be welcome here as British people, even though we've not lived in a damn country for 20 years. All I've got is a little booklet that says I was born there. But that might mean I'm not allowed to live in this country because of these politicians over here are just like, going crazy at each other because, one country wants to leave the European Union and all of that kind of nonsense was going on. So you have to go through all of that process of getting a carte de séjour just to say that you can stay here for another 5 years. It's kind of like a quasi permanent residence type thing. And then they throw out this bullshit about you're not allowed to homeschool, even though we've got our three of our 4 kids homeschooling. They're doing self-directed education because it's breeding Muslim fundamentalist behavior. You can actually say that? Like you can, someone can say that like out loud.
I thought Trump invented the insensitive talk. So people were saying that before.
Unbelievable. And now we've got all of this COVID bullshit going on and locking people down. So we have this, like, every single hamlet, down to the tiny hamlet where there's like 4 houses, has a mayor. What is the point of having a mayor if all that mayor is going to do is just toe the line of the narrative from the gov? And the gov is lockdown, close every business.
And they all
How can that be the same for a tiny little town in the country where you have 1 cafe, 1 tobacco, 1 restaurant, and a boulanger? No, close it all down. Everyone's going to die dead. Like, why can't the mayor make a decision for his own citizens that, the town that he has stewardship over? No, absolutely nothing. So it's just a complete blanket, do as I say or else society, and could be coming to an end for us. We got to see what plays out because it's just been very, very difficult to accept some of the decisions that have been made here. And now they're trying. They went into Parliament the other day to vote on whether or not it should be made mandatory to vaccinate all adults.
They had to vote on that?
Right, exactly.
What was the result?
I don't even think they've come to it yet. I daren't even open a web page, and it's just, what the hell?
You think they'll pass that?
How can they?
I mean, yeah,
this is the kind of shit they were saying in New Zealand the other day, right? It's again, I think it's all just massive amounts of political gerrymandering and scaremongering and just
fear
it's boots on people's necks the whole time.
It's crazy. That's I mean, I don't ever plan on leaving. I love Pennsylvania. But fortunately, I mean, even though we're all under the federal rule, we still have the ability to go to different states. And our governor was crazy. And before Christmas, they were like, they mandatorily locked down it said all restaurants have to close like 2 weeks leading up to Christmas.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, that's a great kick in the pants to all the servers and people that work there. Like, hope none of their kids wanted any Christmas presents or, food for Christmas. So we went out like every night that week before the mandatory close down happened, and we patronized them all and, and gave generous tips. We were just, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I was just like, what would I be feeling like if I was them, And there were a lot of people, like the restaurants were packed. So it was good to see. But then so I was kind of afraid, like, is Pennsylvania going to be kind of like France or, these other countries? What are we going to be, New York or California? Or are we going to be Florida or Texas? And fortunately, one good sign was they had an election. It's just like a primary, like for nothing, like primaries for small little things. But on the ballot, they put the governor of Pennsylvania declared, an emergency whenever COVID happened, and that he was allowed to have the state of emergency last 90 days, and he could extend it in perpetuity. And that was in the Constitution of the state of Pennsylvania. And the amendment to the Constitution was to say that the state of emergency could only last 21 days, and he couldn't extend it without getting, the Congress and everything to agree. So, which would mean if he wanted to do what he did again, it wouldn't happen. And so me and my wife like showed up to vote for that one. I didn't know. I've never, these little local primaries, I never paid too much attention, but it was like a resounding like answer, and it passed, like where people were just like, no, like we're done with you putting our, locking us down. Well, we went long, man. I appreciate you coming on. If people don't know where to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, it's at Princey SOV on Twitter. That's store of value, because that's what I truly believe people should look at first when they look at Bitcoin. Is like, how can I store my value? How can I take what I've spent so many hours and years of my life doing to earn? How can I store that? And Bitcoin is a way to store that value. So that's definitely one thing.
That's the way to maximalism. Yep.
Yep. And so you can find me there, and that's probably the best place to reach out. The website is once-bitten.com. And the podcast is Once Bitten. Just put that in a search engine on Apple Pods or Google or Spotify. You'll find it, whatever podcast platform you use.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for coming on and doing this again, and I look forward to chatting again in the future.
Thanks, man, and thanks for stepping up and putting out the content and those dank memes that get one retweet. That's
Yeah, I know, right? God, hopefully someday I'll make something go viral.
Take care, brother. Great to see you.
All right, great seeing you.